Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth session of Entrepreneurship Academy 2020. Today we will have Dr. Sean Zhao, Deputy Director at Technology Transfer Office, to be our speaker. Dr. Zhao earned his PhD in physical chemistry from MIT and was the Program Director of the Office of Corporate Relations there. Today, Dr. Zhao will share his experience at MIT on successful technology commercialization, business development, technology transfer, and project developments, and also success factors of deep tech startup. Without further ado, let me pass the time to Dr. Zhao.
Can you hear me well?
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Let me share my screen first. And so you can see my presentation well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am already introduced. Thank you very much for introducing me, and good afternoon again. Well, today I will like to share my experience regarding technology commercialization, not only as a technology transfer officer or program liaison officer, and also as an entrepreneur myself. I got a chance to have my own startups twice. Both occurred in mainland China, and one started 2005, the other started 2011. Obviously, my presentation title is Technology Commercialization, and basically I got the platform mainly from my practice at MIT, and also some input from my colleague, the University of Toronto. They called it also TTO. At the MIT, the office called the Technology License Office, TLO. And let's start talk about what is the technology commercialization involved. Basically, if you talk about the technology transfer roadmap, obviously it's from, well, when we say tech transfer, it started from idea. Well, from idea to the IP or know-how or something else related. And for when we talk about the commercial potential, we have to do a thorough assessment. And meanwhile, we have to do a thorough BD homework, business development homework, based on protecting the IP, which is the patent, or and also for funding fundraise, or you have to get the money. To get money, you need to have a good business plan, and when you get the funding there, you need to. Well, meanwhile, before getting the business plan and funding, you need to have a good marketing research. And after you finish all those four stages, you also need to do value proposition studies based from financing and also licensing perspectives. That means for technology transfer office, they have to decide if it's going to be preferred by licensee or funding startup a company. So today, actually, I will talk when we do talk about assessment. we have to understand your product and also your potential startup companies, or licensee companies' strengths and limitations. And also you have to learn lessons from commercializing from academic, armchair, to startup and versus license. Well, this is the case by case studies. That means either go, I will discuss details about the strategy technology transfer office will take for choosing either licensing the technology to a mature company, or starting initiate exclusive license to start up a company, usually initiated by PI, it's himself or themselves, or by other related identities. And also based on funding, financing, and ownership, all those factors. So when we talk about the technology commercialization evaluation, we will go through based on the 4 factors. First one is the intellectual property factors. This is the most important factor. If we quote what MIT Institute professor Robert Langer, well, when I get a chance, I can have a whole session to talk about this professor. And basically, he filed over 2,000, almost 2,000 patents. And his patents were licensed by over 200 big companies, and with a revenue of a total like 20 billion US dollars. No, I mean 200 billion US dollars. So it's a huge number. As quoted by him, when you want to start a company or start up a company, or when you want to start a business, the first most important part is to have a sound and a good IP. That means patents or something even more so. So that's why intellectual property factor comes as a first one. And a technology factor comes second, and well, the market factor comes the third. The team factor, actually, this is the most also equally important as the intellectual property. We will discuss this. Well, here I will spend the most of my time to talk about the IP factors or intellectual property factor. So for intellectual property, and when we talk about the background part, of course, it's mainly related to patents. Also, sometimes it's copyright, sometimes it's trade secrets, and sometimes it's trademarks. Well, there's a principle regarding the IP assessment, which is basically it's kind of related to, first is reward to disclose. So what will be the benefit to disclose? Typical patents or IP, there's about 20 years monopoly where the right to exclude everyone else. So basically, well, that means you protect your IP from others to exercise or to copy. The other greater good is everyone can practice afterwards. That means it's going to be beneficial to the whole society. When we talk about the IP and the filing or patent application, we say, well, why we want to file the patent application? First, the advantages, it will help in the IP owners to set up a competitive advantage. And also, it will help to reinvest into R&D. So for the other part is that, when we talk about the cost, development costs for as an example, for pharma companies, it is a pretty big, from 500 million to actually 1.2. Sometimes it's go over almost like a $2 billion US dollars. It's a huge. For medical devices, for example, it is a typical cost is 50 million to 160 million. This is the when some company acquired IP, the development costs like this one. If you talk about the development time for therapeutic, it can be easy to go from 8 years to 15 years. For medical devices, it will go through like 3 to 6 years. So basically, from patent to first sale, this is we call it R&D and approval stage. When for the revenue stages after first sale to the patent expiration date, this is sometimes it depends how fast the R&D and approval process will go. When we talk about the technology commercial evaluation, MIT practice for intellectual property factor is the following. So MIT Technology License Office evaluation of invention disclosures based on the following. It's basically it's an intellectual property consideration. So that is the precondition to think about filing the patent. First one is the patentability. That means either utility, novelty, or has to be non-obviousness. So if we file are we likely to get the broader claim? Has to be preferred to have broad claims. If it's possible to detect the use of technology in the final product, so you need to know that first place. Are there any dominating patents that can block the practice of this invention? So that means if it's possible to gain access to blocking IP. The other part is if a patented, or if a patent is granted, is the invention likely to draw investment needed for the commercialization? This is very important. And it is patenting the right route for maximizing access to the technology. Well, this is the the consideration for social community impact. The other part in the MIT's technology licensing philosophy is primarily, its primary object is to transfer technology. Well, of course, the first is achieve for commercial reality for invention, not trying to obtain the maximum dollar value, or that means the maximum to make a maximum profit. This is not. Actually, if a licensee successful, then everyone will win. That's the ultimate goal. And also to seek a patent protection, it is necessary for successful licensee. And also, no one wants to be first with an unprotected, innovative product. Well, that's why you want to file the patent application. And also, we want to go after fair and a flexible licensing structure. This is the preferred practice for technology license or office or technology transfer office like Hong Kong University. So Immature technology is a high risk. This is we should bear this always. And also exclusivity makes it easier to attract the investment. This is the pretty common situation for technology transfer office. When we talk about the MIT's, the IP license situation, for the this is the MIT patent issued. There is about a 10 years period of time duration. There's about 45 MIT's 3,025 issued US patents are licensed. And 25% of MIT's over 2,000 pending US patent applications also are licensed just before granting. Those patents are already licensed. So actually, this is the other interesting part. There for MIT's almost 3,000 non-US issued patents are licensed. And also almost 80% of MIT's over 2,000 non-US pending patent applications also are licensed. The audience would be very interested or surprised to see this super high number, right? So you would ask why? Actually, the answer is because when most of MIT non-US, that means foreign patent application will be sponsored already by the potential licensees. So that means almost every issued patent or pending patents, when MIT apply for foreign patents, or that means non-US patents, they were already licensed or already committed to be licensed. So that's why the percentage is very high. For license status of 656 issued US patents created with industrial sponsorship. That means that this is between 2002 to 2015. So it's about 13 years. Before I said 10, yeah, roughly about a 10 years period of time. And so almost 700 US patents are created or from funding from industry or from the companies actually. When we talk about an exclusive licensee, here for MIT between 2010 to 2018, this is about 8 years. So the most of exclusive licenses given to new startups. This is a typical. And second part is went to small company. And third part is it's a startup follow-ups. And last part is the sponsor. So here's the startup and company's number from 2007 to 2018. So you can see it's between the 13, about lowest like 2010 is only about 8 company to up to 26. 2015. And actually the survival rate is very high. Actually, you see typical is over 30%. So compared to typical startup survival rate is around 10% it is more than 3 times higher. So when we talk about the license, well, first is basically it's a sell technology to and establish the company. And the return is going to be mainly royalty paid based upon sales, attributable, like to IP, a percentage of net sales, or like also could be a repayment of a patent cost. It also could be milestones. If a license is exclusive, then minimum royalties typically apply as well as the developer. But milestones, especially in the drug development stage. Okay, so this is for licenses mainly targeting the established usually it's the big companies, or sometimes it's some mid-sized companies too. For if it's for a startup, or we also call it a spin-off, it will basically will create either new company, or it's going to be already established startup company by a PI or by PI related staff. Basically, we will go through two part, or for the building team and the product, sales, and financing. This is for startup company. As a return, so basically it's for the IP owners. Return will be represented through either IPO activity, that means go public, or to be acquired, the company, or to receive the dividends. Well, when the licensing happening, there is some considerations that need to be considered. First is the good licensee fit. That means it can leverage the development or sales and marketing capability of an established company there or not. And also if there will be any add-on technology. And also if the time and risk constrictions are minimized. And also the company has to be willing to pass control or responsibility of your technology to appropriate candidate. So this is for the big company or for licensees. For a startup company or spin-off in their consideration, usually this kind of company or situation is lack of a suitable receptor capacity for IP. That means it's a platform technology with a solid IP potential for additional synergistic IP. Well, this means for startup company, they will be limited by resources for additional synergistic IP. That means following up IPs. There is also consideration for potential to be a multi-million-dollar public company, because this chance is there. But as we know, the typical percentages usually is about 10%. So this is a high nature of high risk. And also, community team is important with a long-term perspective. Because for a startup company, most of scenario or situation, there is the core team members. Sometimes it's difficult for them to hold the long-term perspectives, right? This is a considerable. And also funding and management can be attracted for the team. And also potential return is important for the core team members to be committed, right? And also, again, when we talk about the startup company, they have to have a strong belief that you can advance the technology better than another company. You have to have a strong belief there. And also the startup company are time consuming. Doing a startup is time consuming and also risky. And also it take up a lot of time that may or may not be better spent on licensing the IP, right? It also have a potential for a big upside underwrite or circumstances. Well, and also it's related to decision to do a startup or spin-off needs careful consideration and also the commitment from all parties involved. So this has to be clear in the first place. For the big company licensing IP, they need to know some companies are at sectors and not well suited to generating new lines of business at divisions. Others have sophisticated in-license experience. So this has to be well understood. And also large companies, sometimes they look to M&A, that means mergers and acquisitions opportunity as an alternative. And also large company, or mid-sized company, they will pay premium for small companies that are synergetic with their business mission. All those factors need to be considered. Again, when we talk about the licensing versus the startup summary, the pros or cons, if we, for technology license office or transfer office, typically licensing means it's a good fit for the company at all. Like it's for TT office, it will be, that means a little bit less effort. Well, sometimes it's not real. Sometimes it is. Excuse me. And also it is, will be in the hands of the experienced people. That's true. Because with a mid-size or large size company, they have good resources, not only money and also people. It has a good chance of success, yes. But the cons means there's less control and also it's lower potential returns. And for startup company, the pros or good points is platform technology, and there's no good licensee. Well, at the time, if there's no good licensee, then the startup will be preferred. And a good part is also it's under your control, and it's with potentially higher returns. The shortcoming could be it is time consuming, especially for the startup company team, core team, right? And also there's a risk of a failure. We know 10% versus 90%, right? That general practice. Again, for licensing versus a startup, startups are often good fit for technology when not yet ready for prime time. So that means it takes time to go for mature. And also the technology platform versus a single product. That means if it's a single product, it is not becoming the technology platform yet. So it may suitable for startup. And the inventors support the transfer to startup. This is also very important. So that's why most of the exclusive license agreement went to startups initiated by PI and the PIs themselves. To consider with a startup advantages, again, we say, well, it's a focus, a commitment, flexibility of a small organization, upside potential, bridge between a university stage and industrial adoption. It should be balanced with the high risk, financial, technical, and people. There's will need to be paid attention to conflicts of interest. This is real and perceived. So for MIT Technology and License Office, when they look for in a licensee, they look for mainly on the actually here it's a team, actually it's a talent. So they need to, they look for business and technical experience and realism tenants or people. And also they look for capital, production capability, supply chain, intellectual property, and certifications for processing. And also for proposed solution addresses the marketing need and models to market, the potential for sustainable profitability, and also channel access to market. This is all mostly related to large or mid-sized corporations. So for MIT license, often they proceeded by option agreement. This is a kind of important to push the deal through. Provides the right solely in connection to evaluation of MIT IP, no rights to support commercial activity, provides the right to negotiate a commercial license, contingent upon diligence or due diligence, provides the optionee time to hire a management and a technical team, raise capital, fortify business plan, including the specified capital required to support the development and the commercialization milestones, timeline for fundraising, product development, team building, strategic milestones, including the first commercial sales. So basically, option is often used by MIT technology license office to give, especially a startup company, some preparation time to get ready. And the key elements for a license agreement, this is also the MIT's practice. It basically, this is just a deep, I don't have to go through all these details. Basically, it's a start in like a grant of rights, exclusivity, retain the rights, diligence, and consideration. So you can take a look at yourself. I would say this is the main useful for the technology license officers. For the entrepreneurs, it's good to know what is in the license officer's mind, right? So it's good to know this beforehand. So license factors, mainly, well, it's a depends the tailored terms to fit the technology and the license business plan. That means a shared risk, no initial fee, back-end loaded, equity in partial lieu of upfront fees, reasonable royalty rates, diligence provisions. That means the investment personnel, milestone, and sub-license requirements. And also flexibility is important. That means a potential to renegotiate as the nature of a business evolves. Well, this is good for entrepreneurs to know this is kind of a common practice also. For patent cost and the timeline, when the people PI file the provisional patent, the cost typically between $2,000 to $4,000 US dollar. That this is not updated to today's number, right? And this will typically take about 1 year. So through the PCT or abandon. So when the PCT cost will be about 10 to 12,000 US dollar, and then it takes about around 18 months, or basically it's less than 2 years to get to granted either US or Canadian, Europe, or Japanese, and also Chinese too, or Hong Kong. I should put there too. Yeah. And for office action, for the issuers, there's the other more cost for to get the patents granted, 25K or to up to 50 plus K also. So this is the money and the time and the cost for patent application, the whole procedure. So first we spend most of the time to talk about the intellectual property consideration. Now the second part is the technology factors. For technology factors, simply it's going to be a scientific basis understood. And scientific data has to be so thorough, and the technology has to be well developed. And the team has product development capability. And if you have to ask a question, if it's real, will it work? You have to believe yourself, and also you have to value in development technology. For market factors, the need is well defined. Well, that means market need. Product addresses the need. Market is large and growing. Competition and the barriers are low. Well, sometimes it is not always true. The time to market is short. This is important. Profit margin of products is high. Well, we hope. And the market receptors can be easily identified. This is important. Investment or funding can be easily obtained, and we hope that way. Yeah. For team factor, it is important. This is a very important part. The team has product development capability. Again, the team has time and also is willing to support. Team has realistic expectations. And the team has commercialization experience. And the team has a product development capability, again, here. And the team has time and is willing to support. Team has a realistic expectation, again. Team has a commercialization experience. So we repeat and repeat. But again, as a team has to be reasonable, ethical, can work together well, and also deliver. And actually, let me back to the team factor. My own experience told me the good team leader, that means there has to be only one team leader who is in charge. And also that team leader has to well understand the core team members, their thought, their needs to be well considered and taken care of. And in the question and answer session, I can tell you more with details why it is the team leader has to be that way. If they can be successful to get the startup to be done well. And again, for technology and commercialization evaluation, so it's started from idea to find the commercial potential. We need to go through the 4 factors. And then well understand your strength, understand your weakness, and also the team has to plan really well and also accordingly. And thank you. And now is you can ask questions. Let me stop share. Okay. What is the time? Are we doing well with time?
Yeah, we are good. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I can ask the first question, because how would you compare the atmosphere or the situation in Hong Kong, like on licensing or patent filing, with the United States? Because we want to know more about the difference between these 2 places.
Well, this is a question is going to be asked for my because I was already requested to be interviewed by the news media in few days. They raised a similar question. Well, I would say let's focus on the pros or advantages that Hong Kong would have versus the let's say Boston, U.S. Part, right? I guess based on my practice at HKU TTO, Hong Kong has a very active inquiry, very active active inquiries from local companies, engage with the like universities like HKU or UST. So for because the reason is because the Hong Kong enjoys a good information about the global technology technology landscape, and also enjoying a good information of a global technologies marketing situation. So the people or companies, CEOs or companies, the core executive teams, they are very much aware of the situation. They have a strong desire to innovate, or you can say in different words, say they want to change. They want to look for something better. So that's good part. If you talk about the difference, again, I'd say, well, Hong Kong is building up on the potential now, but right now it's a little bit kind of a lack of the entrepreneurship ecosystem. That means the Hong Kong may have not enough research universities, even though if you talk about the number of universities per capita or per the unit area, right? It is high, but again, it's Hong Kong size-wise, it's relatively small. The total numbers are small, of course, and also when you talk about the people, like students, PIs, investors, and the innovation supporting enterprises. This is important, especially for innovation supporting enterprises. That means like incubating systems or tech support labs or that kind of ecosystems. A little bit lack, So that's my answer.
So thank you, Dr. Zhao. So can you share more about the 2 startups that you have done?
Yeah, actually, I started my first company 2005. The reason I did that it's because before after I graduated from MIT, got my PhD in the physical chemistry. Actually, my expertise was more afterward. My industrial expertise were mostly built on the battery material side, and my products were well sold globally, especially in China. So between 1998 until 2003, I was hugely persuaded by my customers. Say, hey, Dr. Zhao, you need to set up your own company because your products are so well received or well sold. Those are very critical for building the, at the time, the good battery is. And also, I myself was thinking of starting up my own company because I'm a kind of person who wanted to go after my own idea. Besides the following up and following order from a supervisor to do good R&D. So I guess they both, and also meanwhile, at the time I already sensed around after 2001, I already sensed that it was a good time to set up and start up in China. Because the battery manufacturing activities at the time, China was already largest globally, but not the best. It's scale-wise, it's the largest. So it was. I sensed that was a good time, so I started. And the startup went really well. 9 months, we got a product sold to the first customer is BYD. Actually, it happened to be the largest battery manufacturer in China at the time. So then after the 3 years, I left this startup because the technology or the battery material was targeting the battery, which is not the lithium ion. It is the battery was replaced by lithium ion. So that business was maintained by an investor, and it was there. So I moved on myself to develop something new, which is the lithium ion battery material. So starting from 2008 to 2011. So I started the other company making lithium ion battery separator. So that one was sponsored by government. I got quite a good amount of government funding. And so we started quickly. Again, this one company lasted for about a year because later on I was recruited by a large European company to be kind of merged and also acquired. So that company was also developing a similar product as mine. So, but that was a pretty good ending, kind of happy ending for a second startup. So that was my experience. So first one, investment from a private company, well, it's from a local private company. The second one is mainly from government funding.
Yes, true. Starting a company at the right time is very important. And besides the moment of starting a company, our audience wonder if a competitor can copy the idea. So how can we protect a software?
Very good question. This is my personal experience. Please, using this, it should be pretty valued. My first startup, I used the know-how or trade secret instead of filed a patent. First, I used a very sophisticated surface treatment technology. So the secret to block others to compete is the system or device. The manufacturing system is very sophisticated. It was very difficult to copy. So, but the only barrier is that I was successful to keep the competitors to copy. Number one is the manufacturing system. If you keep it in the manufacturing, it's a customized system. It is not the OEM. Number two is the process technology is totally developed by myself. So even someone got this device, they will not be able to copy or do manufacture the good right products. That was approved also later. when someone tried to copy and they failed. Even the BYD, they sent a team of the engineers to see my manufacturing system. Actually, they were the only company to see. And when they saw my system, they said, "Wow, your system looks like a nuclear reactor." I said, "Yes." I said it's very hard to copy. So that's the first one. The second part is, yeah, I used the IP to, I did have IP, a patent, to block others to copy. That's the, well, both the cases, you know, it's, first one is a trade secret. Second one is a patent.
So our audience also wants to know the name of the professor at MIT with 200 patents. Could you share more on that?
Not 100, close to 2,000 patents. Actually, when you search the Robert Langer, he is an MIT Institute professor. Actually, this year's Nobel Chemistry Prize, there's a he was among the top candidates. Because he is the only one who contributed so much. Because remember, almost 2,000 patents, and I believe 2/3 of all those patents licensed to more than 200 large corporations, with the GDP around like 200 billion. Annual sales. This is so far there's no any other PI or investigator or professor could achieve. And I guess the secret, well, I don't know. I mean, it has we have to ask himself, but I guess that he's been very unique, very down to the earth people. And he always can believe in himself, and he addresses the team. Good team is really highly. So that's why he always advised the startup companies to have first to have a good IPs and a good publications first.
So what are some advices on building up some startup ideas? Are pitching or case competition the best gateway? And if so, what would be some general comments or advices on such competitions?
Actually, for that part, to be honest, I never went through that kind of pitching or or went through the competition boot camp or something myself. So I may not be in the position to give audience some kind of good advices anyway. But to me, I guess get from the slides, say, well, fully understand your strengths and your weakness, and get the well-prepared business plan with a thorough studies of marketing, manufacturing, supply chain. Because the more you know the area that you are going to get into, the better off you will be positioned to answer questions or challenges from panels or from commissions or whoever, right? So that means the fully prepared, being fully prepared, it is critical. And also find a good product, good market, and good feeding angle, right?
Maybe I can quickly address to that questions about pitching and case competition. The first response is basically it's a practice for you to explain your whole ideas and the business model, whether it's sound or reasonable or justifiable from the layman or other people's eyes. So you can have feedback when people ask you questions, whether it's something you have never imagined of, so you can change and pivot your ideas afterwards. And another advice is when you apply for this kind of pitching or case competition, usually they will have some sort of stream or certain industry. And those could be a good opportunities for you to get connect with those particular industry. Like if you are doing a fintech projects, you can apply for fintech pitching competitions. So you know the people inside the industry who could help you to connect with business partners or know more about the unmet needs in the market, which you can improve your own projects.
Yeah, actually, well said. And also, I strongly advise all audiences to come to iDendron webpage and also activities, events. And, you know, if you have that will help you a lot, right? And it looks like I got a question there, say, yeah, talk about the core team leader. Maybe this is for my closing answer for the questions, right? Yeah, because I can use the well, I don't have to name the company, but this company was the startup and growing with my company together for when I start up on my first company. This team leader, he became China president of a large U.S. battery company, material company. This company went public. Then he became CEO of the other large in the unique material company, is nanocarbon wire. And he has a great trait to be a group leader. And he's also a friend of mine. I watched him very closely for over almost 15 years. So I guess the way he dealt with the core team members, it is very valuable. Basically, well understand the core team members, the needs, consideration, and also, well, let's say, for instance, team leader will focus on the organic growth of the company. But some core team members, they work hard. They have a huge expertise in technology. Meanwhile, for instance, that team, let's say CTO, right? And the CEO and the CTO, they work really well. Meanwhile, CTO has some considerations, say they need to support the family, and he needs to his needs for financing part is there. And actually, this CEO, he understood that so well. So basically, when they had to start up, CEO already made it clear. Say, well, my salary and your salary is the same. When they are acquired by a large battery corporation, basically said, well, your share and my share is the same. Doesn't matter if I'm a CEO or you're a CTO. Well, this is just the superficial. But meanwhile, that means the good CEO or team leader has to well understand the needs of the core team members, and also their considerations will be well addressed properly. That's very critical. I did see so many startup companies, partners, they worked pretty well at the beginning, but halfway, most of them, the partners, they just departed, because one of the major reasons that's the problem I mentioned here.
And
Okay.
just last one. advice you give to pioneers in new industry?
For new industry, what kind of new? Well, depends on what kind of new industry, because this is too broad, right? If it's a hardcore technology, or it's like an internet related or soft.
I think maybe more on deep tech, like those innovation in certain kind of industry. Deep tech, yeah.
Okay, for that part, if you guys know the Soho CEO Charles Zhang, Zhang Zhaoyang, he's my classmate. He was my classmate at MIT. Okay, he came to MIT about 1 semester later than I did, and I knew pretty clearly about his experience to start up on his own company, and I retrospected a lot about the factors why he was successful, and why it was him to start the whole China's internet industry. Actually, he initiated the whole thing. Okay, he was the only pioneer. So using him as a kind of platform, number one, obviously he got a vision, because at the time nobody, including myself, believed him. We thought, wow, you want to do the internet? Do you understand the internet technology well? He said no. Then I said, how could you be successful? He said, well, I will hire good people. At the time, we didn't buy it. Okay, so the vision is important. Number two is being persistent. When you trust that what you're doing is big and then meaningful, you have to be very persistent. Well, this is a pretty it's easy to pick up an example like Mr. Ma, right? Ma Yun. Yeah, being persistent is maybe one of his traits. Number three has to be be aware of the situation, fully aware of the situation, and also best to utilize the resources. I guess with this is three. Well, there will be a lot more, but this is the three major parts or characteristics for those entrepreneurs who will work on the pretty new or brand new territory, right? As an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao. I guess Dr. Zhao has answered all questions, so let me do a quick wrap up. Wait a minute. Yeah.
We're about 6 minutes past the time, right?
Yeah. Okay. So for our upcoming session, we will talk about intellectual properties. For our upcoming events, we'll focus a little bit more on investment. There will be a webinar on the venture investing community this Friday with Rocky Fund. On 28th of October, we will have another investment matching gathering with Hong Kong Business Angel Network. So please feel free to sign up if you are interested. Just go to our website, Facebook page, and you can find the link.
And by the way, Dr. Lee and I, we knew each other back to MIT almost it's almost like 22 years. Yes.
Yeah, so stay tuned and don't miss it.
Okay.
And then last but not least, we have just launched our Instagram page. Please follow our page and hit like and share. And if you missed the Entrepreneurship Academy 2020 participant WhatsApp group, so you can get the link here, and we will send it via email as well. Okay, so this is the end of today's session, and see you next week. Feel free to talk to each other in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye-bye.